And now we talk about fragrance, because fragrance is another product that is volatile, which means you can lose it very easily. So here in the picture, you can see that MultiSal comes in a powder. You can package it as long as it doesn't approach water. It will not break down and will not release the fragrance. So this is MultiSal fragrance. I'm showing you MultiSal fragrance because it's a big opportunity. Very few companies are using it, but there are many big companies that are using it. Big companies, the biggest companies in the market today for deodorant, international, global companies are using MultiSal in certain ways. MultiSal in the deodorant, for example, and many other applications. But small companies somehow feel that it's too expensive or it's too complicated for them to use. So now I'm giving you an opportunity. Look at this, see how we can explain them what is the value. And why we encapsulate fragrance? Because fragrance is the most expensive ingredient in most of the personal care product per kilo. The use of fragrance is limited, you don't need a lot. But the fragrance is a signature of the product. People smell it and they know what product to use. It's such a known characteristic of the product. Therefore, it's a value to make the fragrance give you more. For example, give you a longer lasting sensation so people can smell it, recognize it, feel that it works, know that it works, know that the product is there and it's fresh. This is the value of encapsulated fragrance. Now, when you use MultiSal in any kind of product, it has to be anhydrous. And this is the limiting factor here. If the product is water, water will activate the release. Now, you have to look at this. The question will be, how much water do you need to prevent it from activating it in the product? You want to activate it only when you put it on the skin and you start to perspire, like you use it. Okay, so the question is, how much of the water is free compared to water that's bound to silica, to silicone, to other material, to the gum, to other materials. So typically, if you have about 15-20% water, then you can use MultiSal. But if the content of the water is higher, then you can use, but it doesn't give you the benefit that we talk here. Now, there are certain conditions that it still give you the benefit, even there is a lot of water. It will not give you the longer lasting benefit, okay? But it will save you the time to solubilize and prepare it for the incorporation into the formula. So these are the benefits. Number one, you get a longer lasting appreciation to the product for longer. You get a triggered release when the concentration of water around the product increase, then the water will activate the release and you feel it. And it adds value from extended performance, of course, of the product, because people relate the activity of the product to the smell, not to the other feature, just to the smell. So if they smell it, they know it's working. And here is another product that claims 24 hours protection. The protection is coming from other elements of the formula, but the fragrance or the technology of the fragrance giving you the perception of the 24 hours. So it smells for 24 hours. Okay, I'm just reviewing it. You see it's long-lasting fragrance release, sweat triggered, and the product is very stable, and so on. So in this case, we're using a technology that's called MultiSal Refresh. Refresh is just the name of the fragrance. And we have in stock several model fragrances that exhibit this feature. This is Refresh is only one. We did a lot of testing to qualify MultiSal fragrance for the purpose of skincare applications. especially for deodorancy. Deodorant in different forms, either it's a stick, or it's a roll-on, or it's a spray. What we found from, this is from a stick application, when we use 1.5% of fragrance, that's all. It was all encapsulated in MultiSal. You see that at time 0, when panelists are scoring the intensity 0 to 5, this is on the y-axis and is a function of time. So you see almost up to the first moment that they feel it, the intensity of the free is so much higher, okay? So much higher by 1 unit. And of course, because the fragrance is free and it's available to evaporate and then you smell it. But as time passes on, you see how the red line, the free, is dropping down significantly. After 12 hours, you can barely smell it. When you use the encapsulation, it also goes down because we use it in the skin. The skin contains some degree of water, slowly breaks down. Eventually at 12, it's very much perceived, and that's why it was accepted for the product. We tested also in use the effect of wet to dry. And this was a very simple experiment when people had to do some exercises for about 20 minutes, walking on the treadmill for 20 minutes. And we measured the fragrance intensity before and after. And you see, this is the fragrance intensity over the scale of 0 to 5. We didn't get to 5, we get to 3.5 or less. So you see the free fragrance, dry was pretty high, but when we added, actually the water depressed the fragrance. So the water has ability to depress it, so you smell less. But we use MultiSal, so the initial, the dry smells very close to the free, a little bit lower than the free, but when you apply the water, then you see a burst release. And that's what the consumer is expecting to get. When it gets dry and I'm sweaty, I want a better protection. And the fragrance is giving a protection. The protection is from the malodor, okay? This fragrance doesn't really cover, just cover it, but not eliminate it. There are other ingredients in the product that can eliminate the odor or the formation of the odor by bacteria. But this is not what we are measuring here. We're only showing that there is a lot of the fragrance encapsulated. And all that we needed to do is to expose it to water, and this water would activate the release. So it's being used, as you can see, fragrances are being used, encapsulated fragrance in multiple products. I just give you a few to make you thinking, what else I could use it for? What else I could sell it? Who else I could sell it to? Who else can benefit from this? So these are either deodorances, different types of skincare, of course, powders. You can use it in different powders. It will be easily mixed up. What kind of powder? It could be body powder. It could be makeup powder. It could be dry shampoo. It could be foot care. It could be hygiene product. People use it in a hygiene product. Okay, major brand use it in a special paper product. So it's incorporated in the paper product as a pad. And with moisture, there is a fragrance release to cover the malodor. Different types of papers and wipes are using the MultiSal. How you use the MultiSal in the wipe? You incorporate the MultiSal first in an anhydrous base that you can melt. Imagine even kind of wax or kind of silicone. So silicone, let's say silicone is a little bit more expensive, but if you use a peg, a solid peg or solid wax, the MultiSal will be stable, will be homogeneously dispersed, and as it's warm, then you spray it on the paper, okay? And that's enough to adhere it to the paper. And when it's come in contact to water, then the peg or the soluble wax will dissolve and will activate the MultiSal to release. And of course, in the business of pet care, there is multiple application for this. And I'm sure you can find many, many other applications for this type of products. So a multi-sub fragrance is solving a lot of problems for the formulators and for the consumers. It's a nice way to use fragrances because the fragrance can give you a longer lasting benefit. For the manufacturer, I will mention it in a minute. Yes, here is the summary. For the consumer, it really gives an ability to activate it by the consumer. And this is a magical thing when the consumer can activate it and feel that it works. And it's always a surprise effect, and it's a positive surprise. And then it gives just a long lasting release. And the fragrance has a role, not just to make the product smell good, the fragrance has a role on the psychic because some fragrances really relaxing you. Like we know that chamomile, rosemary, and there is a group of fragrances that affect the psyche. There are other fragrances that activate you, make you feel fresh. You want to do something. So it has a function and you can use it better to accelerate the value of the product when you use it with MultiSal. It's protect for the formulator. It's very easy to use. It's a powder. It's very easy to use. You can keep the product for a long shelf life. And here is the most important, not the most, but one of the important points. At 160 C, the particles will melt. So you can bake it. Okay, you don't get to 160. But if you add water, then you activate it. So MultiSal is using in baking powders. MultiSal is also used to put on food packaging. Food, like frozen food. So when it's frozen, the water is not available to break MultiSal. Now, when you heat it up in the micro, in the oven, everything is now start to boil, to heat up. When you heat up the food, there is water. Water now will activate the MultiSal and release the flavor. And this is the benefit of using MultiSal flavors, which we will talk. And other benefits to the formulator.